Have you ever looked at your life and thought, nothing is actually wrong? Your life is stable, all your responsibilities are handled, and you're doing, all the things you're supposed to do. And yet something just feels flat. It's not a crisis. There's no crisis. It's not even necessarily burnout, but there is this quiet sense that like the color has drained out of life a little bit. The days blur together. You feel like you're on autopilot. You're productive, you're responsible, you're getting all the things done, but you're just not sure the last time you truly felt alive, if you're being honest. If you've ever had that experience, today's episode is for you because sometimes when life starts to feel flat, our instinct is to think something dramatic needs to change. We imagine we need a new job, a new relationship, maybe a new city, a completely different life. But what I want to suggest today is something a little different. What if the problem isn't that you need a new life? What if the problem is that you've slowly lost your sense of enchantment with the life you already have? And more importantly, what if that sense of aliveness could return without blowing everything up? My friend, if that resonates, stay with me because we are going to dive into this and more. Welcome to the Power to Flourish podcast, where science meets the art of a beautiful life. I'm Dr. Andrea Line, positive psychologist, giftedness expert and coach, and modern-day spiritual godmother to brilliant, deep-feeling women. This isn't just another self-help podcast. It's a sanctuary, a sacred space to come back to yourself. Each week, we'll explore the emotional experience of gifted, sensitive women and what it means to live a life that feels as beautiful as it may look. Because flourishing isn't a luxury, it's your birthright, and your life is waiting. This is the Power to Flourish podcast. So this experience is actually incredibly common among thoughtful, high-functioning women, even though we might not really talk about it. Especially women who, like yourself, are intelligent and responsible and driven. Many of us have become very, very good at running our lives. We manage all the responsibilities. We're taking care of all the people. We solve the problems. And we've built these really lovely, stable, meaningful lives. And that is a beautiful thing. Feeling competent, feeling like, you created this life that you dreamed of. You've done it. You built the business or you climbed the corporate ladder. You've achieved some big things. You've raised wonderful, amazing kids. All of that is so good. But competence and even that feeling of success can also quietly become a kind of like an emotional anesthesia. When life becomes primarily about achievement, success, managing responsibilities, getting the things done, checking the checklist, our attention just naturally narrows, does it not? And we stop noticing things. We stop noticing the beauty that is literally right there. We stop noticing small moments of wonder. We stop engaging with life in a way that feels curious and alive. And slowly, without realizing it, we shift from living life to simply maintaining it. And that is really what I want to talk about today, because you do not need to overhaul your entire life. We might feel very tempted to do that, and there might be a time and place for that. But what if we just started very simply? I want to talk to you today about how to begin reawakening your experience of the life that you are currently living without changing a thing. One of the most interesting things about the human nervous system is that when we spend long periods of time in what I call responsibility mode, our perception narrows. This is actually adaptive. So when your nervous system is focused on things that like require, that you feel like you got to get it done to survive. You might not think it. You might not be deliberately, consciously thinking, I'm doing this for survival, but it is, right? You're prioritizing efficiency and stability over other things. It's just less concerned with wonder and curiosity or delight. My goodness. Could we allow ourselves that? But the challenge is that many women live in this mode for years. I mean, it could be decades. You become the person. It's not just something that you sometimes dip into, but you just become the person who is the reliable one, who gets the things done, who everyone can count on at work and at home. And over time, your nervous system just gets really good at focusing on those things. So you're focusing and you keep focusing on what needs to be done, what needs to be solved, what needs to be managed. Like the attention goes there. And so you become less practiced at noticing the other things like beauty and novelty and small pleasures and moments of meaning. You're not broken, really. It's just this shift in your attention needs some practicing. So when people come to me and they say, I feel numb or disconnected, it's often not really because there's something wrong that we should pathologize about them. It is usually because their nervous system has spent a long time operating in this maintenance mode. There's another thing that I've noticed a lot in my work with gifted, high functioning women, and it's this. Many of you listening to this podcast right now learned early in life that being capable was very important. Maybe you were the responsible one in your family. Maybe you were the oldest. Maybe you were the gifted child who learned to perform well and achieve and be successful and get straight A's and get honor roll and da 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 da. Maybe you were the leader, just the natural leader. All the other kids followed. Maybe you became someone people relied on, teachers, adults. And so over time, competence becomes a big part of your identity, right? You are the person who just handles all the things and leads effortlessly and keeps life moving. But here's the subtle trap. Competence can keep your life running smoothly without necessarily making life feel vivid. When was the last time you really thought about it? I think a lot of us, we think, oh, well, when I'm on vacation, when I'm in a new place, when I'm traveling, then life will feel vivid. And that's oftentimes why we do travel, because we just get so stuck in this autopilot moment. We get so good at being incredibly capable and at the same time, very disconnected from our own experience of life. So there's this funny thing where someone can be not just look successful, but really by all outward measures, they're successful, they're stable. And yet there's just this feeling on the inside that has gone a little quiet. And there's that dissonance. And most people don't see it because that feeling you have is quiet. It's on the inside. And you might think, what is wrong with me? I have this pretty good life. Why am I feeling, what's wrong? Why am I feeling blah? And when that happens, again, it doesn't mean you need to abandon everything you've built. Often, it simply means that some part of you is ready to begin waking back up. It's like you've gone into hibernation and now part of your brain is like, ding, 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 time to wake up. Spring is here. The winter is thawing and you may have been in a long winter season of life. And here I want to give you a little hope. Re-enchantment, that sense of being re-enchanted with the life you are living right now, happens through your attention. It rarely requires dramatic change, although I'm a big fan of making meaningful changes in our lives towards what is part of our vision, what feels in alignment. And if your life doesn't really feel in alignment, then there is something there that we need to look at. And I'm often working with women to help them get clear on what that vision is and then take the action steps to come into alignment. So there's a place for that. But you can start the reenchantment today without making any dramatic changes. And it just really requires this small, powerful focus of our attention. Because what we pay attention to shapes our experience of life, right? My experience of the world, I know, is probably quite different than a lot of other people's experience of the world. We live, some would say, in the same world. And it can be easy to look at someone else's life and say, well, that person has more of this or more of that, or less of this or less of that. And that's why. And there's some reality, of course, to that. But I would suggest, and I know this is true, that there are people who have, let's say, we have this belief that if you just had more money, or if you just had more time, or if you just had more of, you fill in the blank with whatever the thing is for you that keeps you from living your life this way. There are people who have less of it. They have less money. They have less time. They have less support. And yet they are masters of their attention. They have trained themselves and they know how to experience their life fully and vividly and beautifully. So it really does come down a lot to our attention. When our attention is entirely focused on just the tasks and the responsibilities and the laundry list of things that we as women, we always have those, and we're always going to have those. I don't know, maybe there's a time in the future when that will shift. I will say, as someone who was a single mom, a working single mom, this phase of my life is different. It is different. There's much more bandwidth than I used to have back then. I also am older, and so my energy, everything is different than when I was in my 20s, right? So it's like you get some, you lose some as you get older, but we're always going to have some kind of tasks and responsibilities. And as gifted women, we like to, we keep ourselves busy. So I think that for most of us, the idea of just laying on a beach forever, like that might be nice for a moment. That might be nice for a vacation, but at a certain point, you're going to get bored. So, we're going to have these tasks. And I guess my point is, when the attention is focused and we get like blinders on and we are so narrowly focused on getting the things done, that is when life starts to feel very mechanical and very dull. But when we begin to intentionally notice things again, the things that are right here, if we just lift up our heads, something shifts. Something shifts. And you start to notice beauty in places you just stopped seeing it. You start to notice these moments of connection or opportunities of connection that might have just completely passed you by. You just didn't even make enough space to go there. You begin to experience like these small pockets of delight. Again, they don't have to be these big things. Just small pockets. It doesn't have to be complicated. I know I give this example a lot, but it could just be as simple as taking a walk and lifting up your head and not staring at your phone and not being stuck in your head and not even listening to a podcast, even though I love a good podcast on a walk. Maybe it is just simply noticing the world around you for 5 minutes. Listening to music that moves you that you just haven't even given yourself any time or space to listen to. Spending time doing something creative that, you've just neglected it. Again, it doesn't have to be some huge thing. You don't have to necessarily sign up for a class. It's just, what is something small? Pay attention. Pay attention to those moments of joy in your relationships, even the relationships that, quite frankly, you may feel like I'm not happy in this relationship. This relationship has a lot of problems in it. I talk to women about relationship stuff all the time. All the time. But what if you started noticing or just trying to focus more on any moment of joy or positivity? Maybe it's not quite as strong as joy. These are very small. They sound small, and they are small, but I want you to understand that psychologically, they are so powerful. They're so powerful because when we start paying attention and we're being intentional, this pattern of doing it begins to widen your perception again. So it's not just in that moment, but it begins to widen your perception on a general level. It begins to remind your nervous system. It's like waking up to the reality that life is not only about managing tasks and responsibilities. It is a reawakening, I would say. I like to use the word reenchantment. It's a reawakening to experiencing the world, your life. It's waking up. It's as simple as that. So here's a question. I try to leave you with some reflection questions at the end of these so that you can just take this and not just say, oh, I listened to this episode today. That's nice. But really apply. How are we going to apply this to your life? This is what I want you to think about. Where in your life have you stopped noticing? You stopped looking? Where might there be beauty or meaning or curiosity that you just stopped noticing? And it's not because it isn't there. I promise you, it is not because it isn't there, but it's because you've been so busy holding everything together. You've been so focused, narrowly focused. Oftentimes, the beginning of feeling alive again is actually incredibly simple. And it's just a decision to start paying attention again. Sometimes I think we overcomplicate, especially as gifted women. We like to overcomplicate things. We want to have a 10-step process and framework for this and that. And, I love a good framework, but let me tell you, just start simple. Feeling alive again doesn't require a brand new life, a major overhaul, moving to another city, getting married to someone different. It doesn't have to go to that extreme. Often it begins with rediscovering the life that is already here, slowing down enough to notice it, allowing curiosity and beauty and wonder back into your awareness. And sometimes the most powerful way to rediscover that sense of aliveness is not to do it alone, but to explore it alongside other women, maybe just like you, who are also beginning to wake back up to their lives. So if something in this conversation resonated with you today, I invite you to sit with that question this week. Where in your life might a little more attention bring a little more life back in? And as always, thank you. Thank you so much for being here with me. It is a privilege to share these things with you and to just share life experience together. As always, you can always reach out to me on Instagram, or you can send me a DM. I love hearing from you. You can also click this link in the show notes that will send me a direct text. So you can tell me, what did you like about this episode? What would you love to hear me talk more about? That would be so great. Until next time, keep cultivating the courage to live life beautifully and keep flourishing. Thank you for listening to the Power to Flourish podcast. I hope today's conversation left you feeling more seen, more supported, and more deeply connected to yourself. And if this episode resonated, would you take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend? It's one of the best ways to help this work reach the women who need it most. You'll find show notes, links, and resources from today's episode at powertoflourish.com. And now just a quick reminder, this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It's not therapy, medical advice, or a substitute for professional support. And listening doesn't make me your therapist or doctor, though if you're looking for a coach, you know where to find me. All right, beautiful one, that's it for now. Until next time, trust yourself, honor your gifts, and keep flourishing.